Welcome to Sacred Wealth Live. I'm Prema Gurreri, and I'm really excited to be with you here today. Wow, in the North America, we're about to celebrate Thanksgiving. We've got a lot of planetary shifts. Some of you are going to be around a lot of family, and I wanted to get together with you today to really talk about how to be grateful, how to have gratitude in challenging times. So, let's face it that, it is not always easy to be grateful in challenging times. There's a lot going on in the world right now, and some of that I know is hitting some of you pretty hard at home and has been for a while. There's always something that we can find to be grateful for, and I want to talk to you today about the importance of gratitude. Let's face it, everything is energy. Underneath everything else, everything is actually energy. And the vibration that you're holding, the energy that you're holding, the energy that you are, has a lot to do with what's happening around you in your life. And each and every one of us is really taking care of, our own sphere, and making sure that we are really tapped in and turned on and aligned with the best of ourselves. We can make better choices for ourselves, for the people that we're serving, and the people that we come in contact with, as well as the planet. So today, I want to give you, why gratitude, why appreciation makes such a big difference. And actually, there is a difference between gratitude and appreciation. So I'm going to give you that difference on what the difference is between gratitude, appreciation, and why it actually matters. I also want you to understand that during these times when times are more challenging, what can happen is our shadow gets really activated. And we've been talking about the shadow this month. And your shadow can really come out during challenging times. And so I want you to understand that your shadow is a part of you that's like energetic superpower currency that just happens to be locked up and pointed in the wrong direction, so that you can invite that back in, because you don't want to have just that shadow side of yourself unconsciously running rampant or running the show. You want to actually be consciously directing the show of your own life, and especially of your interactions. And when you're also around family, like I said, we're going to be, in the North America, we're having Thanksgiving. And hello and welcome to everybody who's popping on. It's really great to see you all live here. That sometimes, you can get triggered and your shadow kind of comes out of the shadow when you're around family. You just have maybe some soul contracts that you haven't fully worked through. I also want to talk to you today about and give you some of the energy update that's going on, because we have a lot of planets shifting currently. And so that can create maybe like Monday was really, really heavy, and Tuesday wasn't as heavy. And as we get into the end of the week, we're gonna have this sort of up and down kind of a feeling, but it's for a reason. And when you know that there's energy at play, and that when you either walk into your own shadow or somebody else's, or things feel really heavy, it's good to know that it's not necessarily going to last forever. So whatever energy you're experiencing, understand there's a lot of change. We have, in Vedic astrology, we have Venus changing this week, changing signs to Scorpio. We have Mercury coming out of Scorpio and moving into Sagittarius. And all of I won't geek out on you guys too much, but because of where the moon is and where the nodes of the moon are, we've just got some turbulent energy we're going through. But the good news is it's all about unrooting what's in the dark, and pulling up those roots and looking at them and seeing, okay, where am I planting my attention? Where am I planting my energy? And again, that's why I wanted to bring this to you today around, how to really be grateful during challenging times, and has a lot to do with bringing your shadow into the light. So let's get going here. I want want to talk about the difference between appreciation and gratitude. And for all of you that are tuning in on Facebook Live, all of you that are tuning in on YouTube Live, all of you that are tuning in on Instagram, again, I want to welcome you all to the replay. Feel free to comment. I'm here to answer your questions. And feel free on Facebook to throw some hearts or some likes. Let me know that you can actually hear me. That's always really nice to know. It's great to be here with you. So again, as I want to just sort of tease apart, we tend to be grateful for things that have already happened. It's past tense typically, that we tend to look back and have gratitude for what someone has done for us, what we've acquired, what we've let go of, even in being grateful for maybe even some of our challenging times or parts of our shadow, as we're talking about today. That's all wonderful. The energy of gratitude brings us into the heart. It helps us to connect our mind and our heart. And anything that we're connecting our mind and our heart over or because of, that brings us right here into coherence with our soul. And that is so incredibly important, because then you've got your mind following the lead of your wise heart. With appreciation, we are adding value to anything we're appreciating. Think about, like my home just appreciated considerably over the last year. I live in Seattle. The property prices are incredible here right now. I'm grateful that we bought when we did, because I live in my dream home on the water, seeing the mountains, and I just love it here. Okay, I'm grateful it already happened. But my house has been appreciating. It's been adding value. And we've been also doing things to appreciate it, as building beautiful gardens and other things that just make the place more ours. One of the beautiful energies about appreciation is that you can take appreciation and you can turn it towards something that's happening that isn't necessarily really wonderful on some levels. Meaning that maybe you're going through a challenging time. Maybe your shadow that's sabotaging you. I was teaching in my Sacred Wealth Circle this month about the inner critic and the martyr. Maybe your martyr has shown up trying to get love in all the wrong places, or your inner critic is just working you to death or got you stuck or in procrastination in some way. Well, you can start to find some part of what is so-called negative happening for you or your shadow, and you can start to appreciate that. And as you do, you start to see, what is it actually doing for you? What's the good in this? And in that, you're adding value to to the goodness of you. Now, I also have a motto, which is everybody's welcome at the party, meaning every part of yourself. Whether it's a part of yourself that you just love everyone to see, or a part of yourself that you really try to keep hidden or are ashamed or embarrassed when it shows up. Every part of yourself is welcome at the party. And when we are willing to welcome in all aspects of ourselves, then we get to know ourselves deeper. We can make better choices for ourselves. And it's really an act of self-love, because any part of your shadow any part of yourself that is in the shadow, it's like energy locked up, moving in the wrong direction. We can say that fear is love moving in the wrong direction. Your sacred wealth code, in the sacred wealth code archetypes, there's a very descriptive shadow side, as well as all of your high value gifts, for a reason. It's really good to know where you're stuck in so-called the wrong direction, but where your energy has been locked up, which usually happens because of trauma, because of soul choices, that things that you wanted to work through, and maybe some pearls you wanted to polish in this lifetime. Things that have happened to you, things people have said to you, belief systems that have gotten, stuck in. So the reason to appreciate when your shadow shows up is because then you get to see where you've got some energetic currency going in the wrong direction. Then you get to see where your energy is not, you don't have all your energetic currency. You can have some self-compassion for how you, are not fully experiencing the safety, the love, the freedom that really is your birthright. You're in the know. Isn't it better to be in the know of, what's happening? Like, for instance, something as simple as, I have a deal with my car. It only breaks down in the driveway. And I had seen I had a flat tire in the driveway. Grateful I had a flat tire in the driveway, because that way it's not on the side of the road. If you can see that, whoa, I have this part of my shadow that's really it's sabotaging me. My martyr, my inner critic shows up. My fear shows up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Well, if you know it's there, then you can start to embrace it and start to work on it, start to find out what to appreciate about it, instead of having it show up very, very inconveniently. So that's one of the reasons why you really do want to appreciate, your shadow. Why we get so our buttons get so pushed during these times of when things are really challenging is because that shadow energy for everyone collectively is really showing up. And because that energy collectively is really that shadow energy, then it tends to act any of that maybe we have some remnants of is also activating us. And on the flip side, all of our collective shadow is also being expressed. We're seeing that mirrored back in the world in some way. So that's why it's really important to, as you continue to embrace and find something to appreciate, be grateful for. Gratitude has huge energy that connects us to the heart. And gratitude also has energy. Appreciation has that energy of adding value. So if you have any questions coming up, don't hesitate to comment. I will definitely get to all your comments, whether you're watching this live, whether you're coming back and watching this on the replay. Yes, Michaela, you are so welcome. She's mentioning that there is good in everything, and we want to decide, and look for where the good is. So let me give you some tools to work with around appreciation and adding value. Okay. So I'm not here to say that gratitude is not a good energy. It absolutely is, but we tend to be gratitude for what's happened, and appreciation. We can get more present time with it. And then we can even get into our manifesting power with starting to really appreciate, add value to the things that we want to manifest, what we want to create for ourselves. And in doing that, we're aligning ourselves with those things. So one of my favorite forms of appreciation, and this has to do again with bringing the shadow into the light, is appreciating yourself, and really appreciating yourself. And one of the practices that I like to give some people, and I also gave this to a couple of people in my group recently in my Sacred Wealth Circle, to do self-appreciation. Appreciate 5 things about yourself daily. Now, this is not always an easy practice, and you might think, okay, everything I'm telling you maybe about appreciation and gratitude, maybe you already know, but here's the deal. The people I'm here to serve and the clients that I attract are those of you who are super conscious, but you realize you have not embodied, you're not being actually what it is and that's a gap that we need to close. Maybe it's a great energy, but are you practicing it? Now, there's a real key to this appreciation piece and this gratitude piece that I want to give you to, and I'm going to give you that to you in just a moment, so hang in with me. In appreciating yourself, whether it's the color of your hair or something you did for somebody else, or, a particular one of your high value gifts, one of your gifts, or the fact that you are willing, you were willing to try or even to look at your shadow, whatever it is that comes up, you want to appreciate that. And here's the magic of appreciation and gratitude that actually magnifies it 100-fold. And that's actually scientific, as well as when you are practicing gratitude or appreciation, and it not only raises your energy and the person or whatever it is, whether it's a plant or the planet in some way, or an animal, that vibration of that one, it also raises the vibration of anyone who witnesses that. It's an incredibly magic, it's a magic equation. Now, to take that and then amp that up even more, if you, in your appreciations, you say why you're actually appreciating, then now you've gotten to the purpose of it. And I'm super passionate about purpose, and your sacred wealth code is built off of where your purpose and your prosperity intersects in your sacred wealth code. And it also, purpose allows us to know we're serving. We have a reason to be here. We have a deeper meaning. And this is so incredibly important for our well-being, for us doing things that really are right and true for us, for taking those risks instead of just following along and maybe going in the wrong direction. Tell yourself why. So if you're appreciating the fact that maybe you allowed yourself to be seen with one of your gifts in a way that was, a little bit challenging for you. Maybe you stood up in a situation, in a meeting. Maybe you got on Facebook Live. Maybe you stood up in a group and you actually really authentically, without even really knowing what you were saying, you actually, spoke up, and you've been wanting to do that for a while, for instance. Well, appreciating why that's important, why that mattered to you. Oh, so that liberated, that gave me a little bit more freedom. That allowed me to speak up, and I've been really wanting to do that. You lock in that purpose, and there's some neural pathways that takes within your heart, within your brain, in a very different way that helps to pave the way for you to be more of that. So that also is true when you are appreciating something that you want to manifest or create, whether that's you want to create a 6-figure income this year, whether that is you really do want to know what your message is so you can fully be on purpose in the world, or whether that is, the state that are, wanting world peace, something as big as that seems. When you start to appreciate anything you can find at all about those things, and then tell yourself why that's important, why that matters, and then again, you are supercharging your gratitude and your appreciation. Let's talk about, for those of you who are participating in the holiday season, for the people that you might be interacting with that tend to trigger you. So if you want anyone to bring out your shadow, it's going to be the people, it's going to be your family, it's going to be the people who are close to you, it's going to be your partner. And the reason that is you just have soul contracts at a very deep level with these particular ones, and you want to embrace them. They're really your teachers. You want to completely and totally just embrace them. Everybody's welcome at the party. Every part of you, everyone else. And at the same time, you might want to have some really clear boundaries between you and them. I was speaking about boundaries, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. So you can look back at one of those shows for that. So in order to do that, and, for instance, I want to give you a couple practices here. One is, if you already know that there's that possibility that you get triggered by a certain person in your family, and over this holiday time, you're going to be spending time with that person, then I want you to start to appreciate that person already. Find anything you can, like 3 things a day, or every time that person comes to mind, find something to appreciate about them. Whether it's something they've done in the past, whether it is a particular skill that they have, whether it's that you want to really appreciate them for even triggering this in you so that you could practice even more, and tell yourself why you appreciate that in them. Super important. So that's one of the ways to pave the way for a better connection, and for you to show up with your gifts as opposed to showing up with that shadow part of you that you're just not aware of. And that's what your shadow part is. It's something that you're not aware of. So I'm curious for any of you, and if you want to drop it in the comments, you want to throw a heart, are you going to be seeing people, spending time with people that possibly can trigger you or have triggered you? They're triggering your shadow. So I really want you to try this practice. The next part of this is for you want to go with something that I call having your emotional buckets full. I was doing a Q&A call last night for some of my clients, and we were talking about this, having your emotional buckets full. So subconsciously, your shadow is going to try to get your needs met in all the wrong ways. And so if you are practicing that self-love, if you are going with, have done the appreciation for yourself, if you have that stronger sense of self, if you're willing to bring your gifts forward, then you're not going to get blindsided so much by saying something to someone that you are looking for some approval that you're not going to get, you're never going to get, you've never gotten ever. And why would you get it now? Instead, it's a compassionate to not need that from them, actually, and for you to fill your buckets up with the places you already know you're appreciated and loved, with giving that to yourself, so that you go into the situation again with your emotional buckets filled. And then you also want to put lids on your bucket so no one can siphon off that energy from you in any way. Now, so how do you do that? Again, through self-care, through self-love, through being very conscious, through appreciation and gratitude. And then in the moment, here's the big dissolver you can take with you. In the moment it happens, you get triggered, your shadow pops out. Take a moment to just appreciate. Thank you for showing me a part of myself. You don't have to say it out loud. Thank you for showing me a part of myself that has been hidden. And then you want to ask that shadow part of yourself, what does it really need? It's either needing to be safe, or it needs love, or it's needing some sense of empowerment. What does this part of me really need? And then make a plan to go give that to yourself. A real plan where you can actually give that to yourself. One of the ways to give that to yourself is to also recognize what's on the flip side. What's the gift? So if I was, for instance, if you are getting triggered in some part of your shadow, and maybe this is, you are overgiving. I see this a lot with women. I see this with the great nurturer. You are overgiving in some way. So if you're overgiving, and really underneath that, usually the martyr is hiding out underneath that, and the need is to get love, but you're looking for it in all the wrong places, and that shows up for you. Well, on the flip side of that, you can find out, you can decide how you can give yourself the love that you're looking for. But then you can step more into the gift. How could I give in this situation? Because I am a great giver, but give in a way that is incredibly healthy. Some of the high value gifts of the great nurturer, which is empathy, which is being able to see just what somebody needs and giving them just that amount, so that then they can take it from there and create it on their own and for themselves. So these are just some of the ways that are useful, that are helpful to bring the shadow into the light. And if you want to know more about this, come and check out my Sacred Wealth Circle, take the Sacred Wealth quiz, grab a reading. I'll put all those links with this so that you've got that, so that you can get to know yourself better. Because when you know your gifts and you're animating those more, you're stepping into those more, there's just not a lot of room for your shadow to occupy. And when it does, you can get more excited about getting to know that part of you, because you can flip it into a gift. So with all the energy that is coming out right now, actually, let me just answer a quick question. What gift can you get from being a caretaker for sick loved ones? That's really great. So you can notice the fact that you have that ability to really caretake, but it's really the great nurturer. You can really give and see what they need. In that, you might be in the overgiving place. So you also have to give to yourself and make sure that you are taking. So I really want you to recognize your gift of seeing what someone needs and being able to give that to them. Okay, for that particular question, and that's for Michaela. You want to be able to see what they need. Now, you could get worn out from taking care of other people, absolutely. And the other thing is where are you overgiving, and where do you need to call in others to help support on the things that they don't really need you for. So you want to use your high value gifts to take care of them in the ways that you are so brilliant at. And then the ways that somebody else could do, you want to call in support and help for that, so that you don't wear yourself out. When we're doing what we're just good at, we aren't necessarily having the energetic currency to step into what we're brilliant at. But all of us are brilliant at different things. So by you freeing up that space for someone else to come in and help and support in the ways that would be brilliant for them too. So that's what I would suggest for that. Okay, before I hop off, I want to cover a little bit of more of this planetary energy. I know I'm talking fast, I'm covering a lot of stuff. You can go back and you can watch the replay. If you post any comments, I'll come back and I'll chat with you as well about that. So again, we have some planets moving. Mercury has been in Scorpio. This is Vedic astrology, the sidereal zodiac. All the constellations are the same. It's very scientific. We're looking at it from a different angle. That's how you could say that. We keep time a little bit differently. With the Mercury has been in Scorpio. Scorpio is an amazingly deep, wise part of the zodiac. It is really moving into the dark time. It's a really, we're in the darker part of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. It is not a time of a lot of light. And in fact, it's directly across the chart from being where the moon holds its most power, up in Taurus, where we really find the fecund, fertile energy there. This is the energy of the crone. This is very deep. It's wise. It's very inward. It's a deep well you have to go down. It also can be private. It can be secretive as well. There's, on a shadow side of Scorpio, it can be very brooding type of energy. Mercury's been here, and it's been in exchange with Mars, and over the past couple of weeks, it's been a little bit challenging as far as on our judgment of things, thinking a little too long. Maybe judgment has been a bit skewed, not fully in present time, a little bit irritable. That is shifting out. By Friday, that'll be shifted out. And that's Mercury's moving into Sagittarius, which is a much more inspirational place. It wants justice. Mercury, the communicator, the messenger, and also the marketer in the sacred wealth code system. Mercury has, is our intellect, is our judgment, our ability to communicate. So our communications haven't been necessarily really super clean over the last couple of weeks, but as this moves into Sagittarius, they'll be much, much, much cleaner, much more inspirational. But the benefit of where it has been is also about looking at really what are those deep roots that we have, and what are those, what are they plugged into? I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. I want to talk about Venus. Venus has been in Vedic astrology. It has been in Libra, and Libra, really looking for harmonious relationships, and we're willing to compromise, and we want to bring people together. Well, as that moves into Scorpio, by Sunday, that'll be moved into Scorpio. As that moves, it can take that harmony that we've wanted in relationship, and it can make us think way too long about all of that. It can bring us again down into this deep brooding place. We can start to get attached to our story around things, as opposed to being in the current story with things. So that means you can make up things about your partner, your business partner, your clients, your mother, that aren't necessarily true, but you keep it all inward and you start to get hooked into an old story. What I want to invite you to do is to bring that present, make sure that when you start to feel those things, that you actually voice them to find out, is that even going on? Or are you just making up this whole drama inside? We need to watch that. We're not going to be so optimistic about relationships while Venus is here for a couple of weeks. The good news about Scorpio is it's incredibly devotional. It's water in the form of ice. It's stable. It is, so you want to, in relationship, come back to appreciation and be devoted to appreciating and to what you see as the good, as opposed to making up stories about what's not working or what isn't good. So I want to invite you into really looking at that, because of the lunar mansions that we're talking about here. It's really, as we get into Sagittarius, it's really about pulling up these deep roots and looking at what you've been devoted to. Are you devoted to your fear? Are you devoted to your shadow, to your old beliefs? Are you devoted to love, to present time, to justice, to what it is that you want to create? Because as we moved into next week, and I'll talk more about next week's energy next week, but as we move into next week, when we have those realizations, then we can start to move forward to manifest more of that. So I'm going to circle back around gratitude, and that's what you want to use right now, the practices that I've given you today, to be able to connect in with really connect in with getting aligned with a higher vibration for you and for everybody else around you. And that change that you want to see in the world that maybe you're not seeing, instead of feeding the monster and talking about it and how it's not happening and how you're frustrated with it, be aware of it, absolutely. But then get in a line and get appreciative about what it is that you do want. And I know you have a message, I know you have a mission, and you have a purpose. Get an appreciation about what you do want to create and do just one thing every day to create that. Then you are part of the change. And otherwise, you become part of the challenge. So it's just been a pleasure to be with you. Feel free to share this around so it can support other people. I look forward to being with you next week here on 12 Pacific, 3 Eastern, live on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on Instagram as well. And so much love to all of you. Wishing you so many blessings for this holiday season. Much love.